I'm Teneale.
And I'm Kelsey, and we're financial advisors from 𝐴𝑙𝑚𝑎𝑛 Partners True Wealth, bringing you thought-provoking conversations around you, your money and your life on the Wealth Experience podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Experience podcast. We have a special guest again today who's going to tell us all about the world of marketing. So listeners, if you're struggling with your own business marketing or perhaps just seeking ways of just doing it better, then this one is for you. So with no further ado, we are joined today by Jade McAuley, Director of Rebel Nation. Jade is a media marketing and public relations guru. I hope I've got that right. And
definitely not the guru part.
No. Well, we think so, in comparison to us. And you also have your own podcast too, called Marketing and Margaritas. So Jade, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me. Should probably just check, is this a no cussing podcast?
We have a relatively professional brand,
audience?
so
Yeah, okay. I'll try and keep myself in control today, just for you, Teneale.
Thanks.
So Jade, tell us a little bit about who are you? What makes you tick?
Who am I? What makes me? That's really broad. Well, I guess for the most part, I am very much a business-focused person. So I have spent a big chunk of my life in marketing, whether it was, doing my degree and then building on my career, starting businesses. We realised actually this May it'll be 10 years since I started my first business.
Wow.
Which was a business magazine, and I'd never had a business, and I started a magazine about business, so that was smart.
You can have an anniversary party.
That's what my nephew's like. He's like, what are you going to do for this? And I'm like, nothing.
Let it pass by.
Yeah, exactly. Not tell anyone about it until I go into a podcast and bring it up.
Well, guess what? We're going to call you out.
I want to see it. I want to see the first version of it.
And that was, like I said, 10 years ago sort of thing, getting into business, and now we've got like a team of 10 and a couple of different businesses sort of under the main sort of still marketing umbrella. But yes, it's been a very interesting journey. I feel really lucky though. Weird the things that just come to you while you're on a podcast of all things. But just thinking back, the amount of people, like I went straight from high school into uni and I deferred for a bit. Then I went back and did comms and stuff. But the amount of people who deferred and never went back, or the amount of people who've done a degree that they don't use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually use my degree. Like, that's pretty unusual.
That is great. But
probably not unusual for you guys. That's probably pretty common.
We have career changes.
Yeah.
We have a lot of career changes that get into financial planning. So
yeah.
We find that a lot in the other one's probably law. Lots of people switch in and out of law, so they'll do the degree and then maybe they don't actually stay in it. We've seen that a fair bit, and then they'll come across.
Legal industry is intense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're playing on social media and writing websites and stuff like that. Like law is like people's lives in your hands.
That's right. Mm-hmm. But did you go to uni as a full-time student, or were you?
No, mine was part-time. So
yeah.
I did uni full-time for a year, and then I deferred for the 6 months. And then I went back full-time for like another 6 months, but I also had a full-time job by that, because I've been working full-time while I was deferred.
Yeah.
Full-time uni and full-time job. Like
yeah.
I know a lot of accountants and stuff do that. I don't know how they survive. It was pretty
brutal.
Difficult.
I love that. Look at you go.
I am trying so hard, man. There's been like 5 times already. But yeah, and so then when I was doing my actual comms degree, I went part-time from there sort of thing. And
yeah.
so I don't think I actually graduated until, or you know how like you finish, but then you graduate 6 months later or something, because it's like when that thing comes up. So I think I finished 2004, but the graduation was 2005 or whatever. And then, yeah, went straight into marketing.
And so what job were you doing full-time whilst you were at uni? Was it related, or
no, I was
it
just a receptionist for a building certifier of all
yeah.
things. It was so good because like I would go in and be like, super efficient, and like I cleaned up all of their database and their filing system and their contact, their CRM and all this kind of stuff. And by the end of it, I would be like going in and be finished at like 10 a.m. and calling my boss. And they had like 5 locations. He was in Cairns. I'd call my boss and be like, I've done everything as well as everything else, as well as some other people's stuff. Can I do my uni work? And he'd be like, yeah. So I did a lot of my uni assignments and stuff at work. It was great.
Well, there you go.
Very
That's a double win.
Well, I guess because with admin, it's sort of that process sort of style or whatever was, you know, once you kind of get on top of it, it was easy for me sort of thing. So,
Yeah. So how was Rebel Nation then born?
So I was working at council when I first started my first business, which was completely approved and sanctioned by my bosses because I'm a good girl most of the time, despite what people think. And I started getting a lot of requests for freelance work. So it's sort of like, because what I had was a magazine and people were like, oh, you know, you can write and, you know, build websites and things. And I was like, sure. And so like, oh, can you do this for me? I'm like, sure. And then I was saving.
I'm seeing a theme here. There's a lot of yes going on. I'll just do that.
Why not? If an opportunity comes up, you just say yes, and then afterwards you freak the hell out about it. But yeah, I was saving for an America trip with my cousin, and then it was like Christmas time, and I said to her, I'm like, I love you, but I'm thinking I might use that savings to start a business instead. And so it was February. Oh, golly, if it was 2014, oh, that's right, the 10 years, it would have been February 2015, maybe. Oh, God, I can't remember dates. I'm useless. I finished up at council and started working for myself as Rebel Marketing.
Yeah.
And then I was 2 years into being self-employed, and it was October or November 2017. And Kylie Porter from Out of the Blue Marketing, who I was on chamber committee with, but otherwise had not sort of been in her orbit. And very much she was like the chair and super powerful, like, you know, knows everything kind of person where you're just like in awe and you're just sitting there as this little kind of newbie chamber committee member going, I don't know what I'm doing. I work for council. Why am I even here? And yeah, she just rang me up, and I'd had a couple of other local agencies ring me and say, hey, if things get too much for you, we can just take the extra work and stuff or whatever. And I'm like, cool, thanks. You know, if you get any jobs that are too big for you to handle, Jade, we'll do it for you. I'm like, that's great. So I thought she was calling to do one of those. So I was really just like, hi, KP, how you going? And she's like, yeah, cool. So I was just wondering if you'd like to buy my agency. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
yes. I mean, due diligence and checking things, yes. So yeah, 1st of January 2018 is when I took the agency. Not took it. And it passed over into my ownership. There we go, that's more professional. And then we had the two brands coexisting for a year. So we had Out of the Blue and Rebel Marketing side by side sort of thing, like just going through that merge process and transitioning clients and getting all of the back end hoopla sorted, because that's super fun. And then we, as a team, we did what we would normally do for a client, do our brainstorming, double checking ASIC, all that kind of stuff. And we decided on Rebel Nation. And so that is the long-winded story of how Rebel Nation was born.
Oh, I think that's really interesting, because it seems like, you know, you kind of just threw yourself into it and
yes,
just learned
that's
along
kind of
the
my
way.
calling card.
Yeah, and I think it'd be really interesting to know from you, Jade, because of that reason. Obviously, you didn't have a business background prior as such, but you did start a business magazine. So you must have had some knowledge, right? Maybe natural talent.
I'd had a few businesses by the time I'd bought the agency. So
Yeah.
there was a little bit more experience before actually taking it on. I'd never had staff. I'd never had an office.
Yeah.
So going
Was any of that daunting to you, or were you just like, yeah, I'm going to do this?
No, of course it was daunting, but it was way more exciting than it was daunting. And I'm pretty much like, I've got really good support networks and really wonderful mentors, etc. A couple of the mentors I had at the time, I'm not sort of really in their circles and stuff anymore, but there was very much a big thing from the support network around me that was, no, don't do this. You're a crazy person. I don't think you've thought it through. So, and I was very much, but I want to, and so I will.
Yeah. So glass half full kind of approach, is that how you approach life? Or?
Yeah, I guess so, man. I'm a very immature person. If I want something, I will get it. There is not much in life that I've wanted that I've not gotten, and it's been because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, it just makes me worse.
I think I don't.
I can see you both stunned. Like, I don't think that's how life should work out.
No, I'm actually sitting here going, I don't think that's immature. I
think it's kind of childish to just be like, if I want it, I get it. It's, I mean, it's definitely, it gets me in hot water. Like, it's definitely problematic at times, etc. You know, I'm terrible with money, for example, because I'm very much I want this trip to Italy. I'm just booking it. But, you know.
But you make things happen, right? So.
Yeah. Well, that's it, man. And it's sort of, and like, I definitely got knocked down a peg or two a couple of years ago. So I went through a big health issue. I had a thyroid thing. It knocked me out for about 6 months. Then I had surgery to correct it. And then coming back from that. So I've definitely experienced the, like, you know, I almost lost the business. That was really challenging. You know, working really hard for the year to come back, then almost losing it again. Like, it's not like everything does just work out super nicely and sweetly. But I think part of that, like I say, when I want something, I go for it. It's just, I'm very persistent.
So it seems like are you able to share what happened for you when you were going through those hardships in terms of how did you get the business back out of that space of time? You know,
I swallowed my pride. So I have quite a big ego in a way, and I have a lot of difficulty asking for help. And so one of the biggest things that when I was sick, especially because in the lead, like, you know, they book your surgery in, and it wasn't emergency, so it was months away sort of thing, and one of my symptoms was like chronic fatigue, and also just like irritability, not having interest in things anymore, aches and pains, all this kind of stuff. So like at the start, making it through to 5 each day was really hard, and then making it through to 3 o'clock each day was really hard, and then I would, you know, finish at 12 and go home for a sleep and then try and work a bit more. So I had to rely on the team so much, and like there were times when I couldn't drive and stuff because we were like worried about me being so out of it and everything. So the period leading up sort of taught me a lot of humility and reaching out to people. And so then when it came back, I was like, do I want this business? That was the first thing. Like, is this actually, like, don't just be bullheaded and go after something because that's what you think you should do or that's what other people think you should do. Is this still something I really want? And because for that, you know, especially that last 6 months, one of the symptoms was literally not having any interest or passion in anything.
Yes.
So it was really feeling dialed out of stuff or whatever. And I'm there's a lot of things in life where I'm very decisive. I'm very quick to move on things once I've made a decision. And I was just like, no, hell no, I want this. And so then I was like, cool, I've got a great support network of people who want to help me out. A lot of my friends are clients, and I also have a lot of really close business relationships. So I, for the first time in my life, did sales. And so I just rang people and were like, hey, you know, we're a bit low on workflow, etc. Obviously, me being out of the business hasn't helped. I don't want you to bring anything that you're not already intending to do, but if you've got projects that you have been thinking about on the back burner, can I have a chance to quote on it? And so basically just actually called people to generate work, and it just came through. But then because we got so busy and I wasn't really, like, I was still recovering and not really being present in the normal way that I am, sort of thing. So I wasn't going to networking things, and I just wasn't doing meetings and stuff as much, and just, you know, all that kind of general stuff. We sort of sank down again. But then again, just was like, oh, I need to be more visible. I need to be out there. When I'm out there, like, you go to a networking function and literally over the next few weeks we'll have a bunch of inquiries. Like, it's not hard, you know. So, well, not far. Sorry, I don't mean like that for everything. But it's, so it was basically just asking for help.
I think it's really powerful because Kelsey and I speak to our listeners a lot about your why. And so there was a big part of that I heard loud and clear about you kind of going, well, why am I doing this? Am I doing this?
Is this still what I want?
Yeah.
And I think you need to have that kind of critical thinking on things for all kinds of aspects of your life. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, I know people who will book a big trip or whatever, and it's like, oh, are you excited? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, is this really what you want to be doing? Like, are you just doing it because you think you should, sort of thing? Or if, like, you know, if you're in a house that you no longer really love, like, go find something. Like, I'm not very good at, if I don't really want to be doing something, to just keep doing it for the sake of it. I've really got to have heart and stuff.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I just get bored, and when I get bored, I get naughty. So it's really best that I'm always coming up with ideas and stuff, because otherwise we'd all probably be in a bit of trouble.
No, I think it's great. We talk a lot about putting that heart and the smart with those goals. So, you know, when we're talking about goal setting, it's about, well, what is a motive about that for you? If you achieve that, how's it going to make you feel? And that's incredible that you're having those kinds of conversations and that thought process when you're making decisions for your life.
Well, thank you,
and about your
Teneale. I'll take any
business.
talent from someone who's pretty much more of a grown-up than I am.
Oh my goodness, I'm so old.
I'm pretty sure I'm older than you.
So it's great for sharing. Can you tell us what's next then? So you're up to this point now. What's ahead for Rebel Nation?
So when we rebranded as Rebel Nation, it was very much about being a digital marketing agency. Like, that was the positioning statement that we took back in 2019. That was, and that's seen us through really well. We still do, like, you know, traditional media and billboards and business cards and shit like that for clients, but it is very much, we're known for that digital side of things. And so alongside of that, growing more and more has been the training side of things too. So when I was sick, we brought out our digital marketing training side, which is bridged digital learning. So like bridging the gap between people's knowledge, etc. And that was something that was sort of sitting there that I never got back to properly, because I then had to deal with all of the agency thing that I nearly blew up. But now that that's coming good again, so end of last year we started working on Bridge in a big way again. So we've got, I can't say it just yet, which I always hate because I'm so always that person who just tell things. I have from a mentor that I have very loose lips when it comes to ideas, and she's like, you need to knock that shit down. But yeah, so we do have something coming up soon, and it is going to be on that digital marketing learning aspect, but we're also, which is quite scary, just especially because we're just considering about how much business experience I do or don't have. It's going to have some business coaching element along with it as well.
Yeah, okay.
So I've always done mentoring, whether it's through programs or unofficially and stuff with people. But now, like, I've done actually like a couple of specific business mentoring structured sort of things that I've just created the structure, put it together, and then the person on the other end has just been like, holy dooly. So I'm like, maybe other people would enjoy this also.
Yeah.
And not obviously business coaching as in like, here's how to structure a company properly, you know, and like that, obviously that's, you go to experts and stuff for that, but more I think from that whole, like you were just saying, like figuring out what you want. And then again, for me, it's easy to just go after things, but the more and more the older I get, the more I realize that that's not a super common trait in people.
Yeah.
So kind of giving people that encouragement, but also not being stupid about it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just go after anything. Like, you're still, like, I'm not a dumbass. Like, I do things, you know, go after things that I think really matter and stuff. So, yeah, helping other people to do that too. So that is coming soon. But, yeah, with the agency, that just keeps growing and growing. Like, we're just signing retainer clients and crap all over the place without trying at the moment. So that's really nice to have that bubbling along well. And so, yeah, free me up a little bit to get back into the teaching stuff, because I really love showing people that they've got more potential than what they realize, and they can do more than what they realize, and their ideas are great. They just need to know how to do it and then how to review it so they can keep improving it, sort of thing. So, yes, very excited to get into that big top secret thing that I'm not mentioning that I am.
I was hoping we'd get an exclusive for the podcast, damn it. But Jade, if you could go back in time, because obviously you've got a bit of hindsight now, you've gone through, you know, all the different businesses and, you know, got a bit of experience. But if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice at the start, what would it have been?
I guess that's kind of difficult to say, because if I went back and tried to sway things, then I might not be where I am today. And I feel pretty damn good about where I am today. I guess the biggest thing would be maybe it's okay to ask for help thing. I think that there are, personally and professionally, some mistakes I could have avoided if I hadn't had such a, and it's not even like a prideful thing in thinking I can do everything. I just don't like asking for help. I love helping people. I really like connecting people and sharing ideas and getting their shit going. I love that. But asking for help is just such a painful thing. So, yeah, if I was to go back to younger me, I would be like, get over yourself. Everyone needs help occasionally, even you dumbass.
Yeah.
I think it's very commonality for a lot of our business clients to do that, you know, to the kind of people that will typically go out there and I'll take it all on myself. I need to build this. Then I need to be the one to create them, you know, for many of them, they're not marketing experts, but I'll create the marketing plan and then I'll bring in the lead generation and then I'll train the staff and then I'll
spreadsheets from back in the day. You can tell I wasn't a numbers person. Yeah, that's what you think you have to like create everything from scratch, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just a crazy sort of mentality, and it's so unnecessary, and it leads to burnout and sickness and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's so weird because when I first bought the agency, I was working 6 days a week, you know, 50, 60 hours a week, etc. Now, like, most days I don't even see 5 o'clock because I have an appointment on, and most of those appointments are like, oh, I've got to go to my sauna, so I'll catch you guys. You know, like, I'm working tomorrow because we're busy, but like I normally don't work, like I'm so lazy now, but it's just better, you know what I mean? Like, because I've got a bigger team and I've got support in different ways and stuff, and it's much better to have, like, having people there is great, but actually letting people help you is also important.
That's right.
And
it creates,
saying that is hard.
but it creates this sense of responsibility for them, and they feel like they've got a real place in the business as well too. So, you know, this is not just Jade's business. This is everybody's business that's working in it. So,
and our team has such a sense of buy-in in the business. Like, so for example, I don't follow competitors and stuff like that, and I don't sort of follow, you know, who get what job and all that kind of thing. Sort of like, we've got enough of our own stuff to worry about. But the team are in it, and then they'll see something. So just recently, like, someone's kind of copied our tagline a bit, and I'm just like, oh God, I couldn't care less. And they're all up in arms having this big hallway conversation about it, and I'm like, it's okay, guys, no one actually cares. But they care, you know, like, they've got a lot of pride in the business.
Yeah.
They really do, which is, you know, freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, exactly right.
I'm very lucky when it comes to team.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's great. And knowing that what you can delegate out, I think, is really important. And on the subject of delegation, let's talk a little bit about when people delegate to you for marketing purposes. And we want to get some insight now about...
Oh, yeah. Are you just trying to get some free advice?
Oh, 100%. It was 100%. You know what it's like. When people come and see us, it's what stock is going to go, you know, crazy north.
So that's literally what every podcast for me is about. I'm like, what do I want to learn about? Ooh, I'll get them on the podcast.
So we really want to speak about how important getting a marketing plan actually is. So when you're starting to develop that for a business, what's the most typical scenario that you get? Are people coming and just going, I'm at ground zero and I don't know where to start, or they've got some ideas already and they're...
Kind of a mix of both. So we generally get, like, whether it's someone who's been in business for 20 years and is coming to us, or someone who's just started up in the last few years, sometimes they'll be like, you know, here's my wish list of things I'd like to do. Here's the things I've already been doing. And other people will just be like, our admin assistant's doing our Facebook page. I don't even know where our logo is, and why would I have an idea about marketing because I don't like marketing? So we get a real kind of mix of things. My process is pretty much always the same. So it's basically knowing what your business goals are. And that doesn't mean, like, I know from financial perspective, having a proper business plan is definitely a smart thing to do. I have my own business plan, etc., but I don't expect that from everybody, sort of thing. But most people sort of have an idea of where they want to take the business in the next 3 to 5 years, even if that's just maintaining what they have, sort of thing. So once we know what they're trying to achieve with their business, then it's what are the marketing goals that are going to support that. So one of the things people quite jump to is, for marketing, we want more brand awareness, we want this or whatever. But it's like, what are you trying to do in your business? That needs to be stage one. So, like, if you're really hurting for staff, then one of your goals is creating a consistent, ongoing recruitment pipeline. So it's not just about getting clients, it's about getting team members easily and frequently. So, you know what I mean? So really needs to have your marketing goals align with your business goals. Then you have your target market. So again, people quite often jump to their ideal customer and their target market and stuff. And I'm like, no, we have to go back to the marketing goals. Who are the different target markets that are going to help us achieve each of those goals? So that's where it's not just who's my ideal audience, it's what am I trying to achieve, then who will help me achieve that?
Yeah, okay.
And then next is key messages. So what do I need to tell those people to achieve those goals? So that's my little trifecta for the start. And then from that, you work out what your baseline is. So what's the marketing stuff that's going to be happening consistently all year round for you? Things like, your branding being up to scratch, having all your print collateral, your website, your socials. It might be networking. It could be that you run, a certain client event every year or whatever. That could be all of your baseline sort of stuff. Then you have like your extras on top. So that can be your campaigns or a new thing that you want to launch and come out with, or it's just some cool new idea that once we have the foundation set, then you can have a play and do some cool different shit. Like the client night's probably a good example. Like people like, oh, we really want to start doing a VIP client night. I'm like, cool, your logo and stuff is a complete mess. Or like we need to sort of this first before we do the big, exciting, shiny thing, unless we have a pressing need for it sort of thing. And then it's your metrics. So going back to those goals again, both the business and the marketing goals, what metrics can we use to measure those? And then basically putting those into like a dashboard spready kind of thing. I say dashboard because that sounds cool, but it's really just a spreadsheet with some tabs. And because there's as you guys would know, there's so many different numbers and data that you can access for your business. Not all of it needs to be something that you need to be looking at all the time. Yeah. And if you're someone who's not really into data and stuff, just looking at 4 or 5 key things on a regular basis is a really good starting point if they match in with what you're trying to achieve. So yes, that is basically the process that we go through for creating market strategy. And then we get to do it.
So we're in a completely different world to where we were 10, 15, 20 years ago, right?
Sure.
Where everything was a lot simpler, I guess, in the marketing space. There's only so many things that you could do.
I know. Tell me about it, right?
I'm overwhelmed. I'm actually sitting here going, wow.
Well, that's it. 2004, I finished my degree and started at my first comms job. So it's literally 20 years for me now in the industry. It has changed a hell of a lot.
Yeah. But it must mean that there's a lot more need for businesses to have more of a requirement to have more attention and focus towards that space nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. It's sort of like the changing face of how people actually do business and buy from businesses, etc.
Yeah.
That's really what's driving those changes as well. So it's kind of like, 20 years ago, like Amazon was nowhere near what it is now, sort of thing. Whereas retail, you've got to compete with so much more than what you used to. And like retail's hard, man. Like they're going through struggles sort of thing. So yeah, it's very much, I think, and like I think back to Mackay, like I've lived here my whole life. So going through, when I was younger, we always had the cyclic nature with the mines. Things are up, things were down, things were up, things were down. And like, you were kind of used to it because it was just really quite normal. And then we went through the boom and anyone could just start a business without really trying hard and get business, etc. And then when everything, the bottom fell out of it, there are a lot of people who obviously, didn't do well sort of thing and closing up shop and all that sort of stuff. And for me, like when I first started getting out, it was just in that from the boom to the crash sort of time. And so seeing people who leading up to that, not just the boom time, but leading up to that, were like, I don't need a website, I don't need anything, we just get clients through word of mouth, etc. And that referral, that word of mouth, that stuff's not gone. It's just different now. You know what I mean? Like we don't get referrals and then just go, cool, I'm just going to call them up on the phone and book in with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we go and look at their website and their socials, and we might talk to a couple of other people and we'll post on Facebook checking in for things and stuff. So it's just the nature of how people do business is different now. And it's kind of like, I remember when, I first started working in that, like just after the boom time, etc., and things were kind of coming back, and people were just like, we had to convince people that they needed a website.
Yeah.
And like that was super fun. And people wouldn't pay for a marketing plan. Whereas like that's one of our top products now. But back then people wouldn't pay for your marketing strategy. They were just expected it from you sort of thing because they never needed one before. They understood advertising. If I need something, I'll advertise. But then that space got so cluttered and there were so many more options, and it's kind of like, well, you have to have a strategy to figure out where you're going to put your money. Otherwise, you spend a lot of money and you don't get anything in return.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because on the flip side of that, we've got so much nowadays. How do you know as a business owner as to where you need to actually be spending your time in the marketing space?
Yeah.
What are the channels that you should and shouldn't use?
It's just going back to those goals, man. So it's like, what are you trying to achieve and who's going to help you achieve them? Where are they? So we need multiple touch points. I think Google's last study was like 11.7 or something touch points with someone before they'll do business with us. Obviously, that's an average, and it varies based on, you know, B2B and B2C, etc. But, you know, we know ourselves, it's not very often we just see like an ad in the paper or a post on social media and then go, you know what, I'm going to go buy I was going to say a $1,500 tractor then. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure they're going to be more expensive than that. Showing off my agricultural knowledge. No, but, you know, we don't make those kind of purchase decisions like that quickly. Like, I mean, I'll admit, I've had a glass of wine or two on a Friday night and bought magnetic lashes off Instagram. It was a very convincing sales page. No, they were not good. Also, I wear glasses. Oh, God, that was terrible. So, yeah, you might make some stupid purchases just as a once-off, but most of the time you need multiple touch points. So if you know who you're trying to reach, figuring out where they are, showing up there and being awesome.
So it's a bit of a spider web. So even if you think, oh, you know, no one's, you know, looking at this post that we've put out there, or, you know, you feel like no one's really paying attention to it, it's not necessarily the case, because it's all coming together as one.
Correct, man, exactly. And it's sort of like, even though a lot of businesses, quantity is important, quality still reigns at the end of the day when it comes to leads for a lot of us. A lot of us don't need 100 new clients signing up to us every month. We would probably die if that happened. You know, so if we, like, for us, if we get, you know, like, I don't know, 3 clients a month or something, that's probably all I can really sustain as far as growth goes. And those months when we do get more, if your service level drops, you lose people. So it's a real balancing act kind of thing. So you don't actually need to have 15, you know, we don't need, I keep going 1,500. We don't need to have heaps of people seeing your stuff all the time if it's the right people. And people do that, a lot of that with like email marketing and stuff too, where it's like they might have, say, a database of 400 and then they're like, oh, only 80 of the people opened our email. And I'm like, well, if you were talking in front of those 80 people at an event talking about your business and how you can help them or whatever it is, do you think that would be significant? You know what I mean? Like when things are digital and we just think of it as a number, we forget that it's actually people.
Yeah.
You know, so if your post only got 250 people, boo-hoo. You know what I mean? Like 250 people saw your post. Yes, every now and then you'll get a post where it's like 5,000 plus and you're just like, holy crap, that's amazeballs. But... Sorry. But, you know, like for a lot of B2B, we don't have those massive kind of audiences because we just work with other businesses and stuff. But yeah, those numbers are actual people. So it's still worthwhile doing. And especially when you, like, you know, you can use benchmarking, for example, so LinkedIn analytics and meta analytics, you can benchmark your pages against other, like similar pages and stuff. It's so interesting to find, like, we don't do local competitors. We have benchmarked ourselves across some of the bigger digital marketing for educators, et cetera, because that's the, you know, the angle I'm going for. And I just want to see what they're doing more than, like, I'm not going to compare to someone who's got 2.5 million followers. But the amount, sometimes, like, when they'll, like, some of their weeks or whatever compared to our weeks, and I'm like, God, my engagement, like, as a percentage is way over yours compared to how many likes and stuff we have. You know what I mean? So you can kind of go, you might not think that you're doing that well, but when you look at how others are doing, sometimes it can bring a little bit of reality in the situation. You're like, maybe I'm doing better than I thought.
Yeah. And I think at times it can be hard for business owners to think about this because they are looking at numbers, right? So do you have any opinion, or do you do any work with your clients around what a good spend is on marketing? I know that the average might be somewhere around about 10%, but what's a good level of spend if you're trying to achieve a good revenue growth?
Yeah, we don't really have any formulas and stuff that we work through. Like, so when I was in uni, etc., it used to be between 5 and 10% of your revenue, I think. That was meant to be your marketing budget and stuff. But I mean, no offense for things like that, but numbers are just numbers, mate. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of, if you're in maintenance mode, then you might only need to be investing in a few things and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're ready to be gearing stuff up, you're going to have to chuck some money into that to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, if you don't have the time, you need to have the money, you know, to sort of buy someone else's time. So I don't have a percentage rule that I do with it. A lot of our marketing, like people who come to us, 99.9% of the time, they'll be like, I don't have an idea of budget. And I'm like, cool, man, I'm the same. Like, I'll go to someone and they're like, oh, you know, we're getting some signage done. They're like, what's your rough budget? I'm like, I don't know. Whatever works for me.
Yeah.
One of my mentors told me recently that people do we have sort of roundabout ideas in mind, but we don't like expressing it because it's not really founded on anything. So we don't feel confident in telling people. But also we don't want them to just use the max number. So it's like a protection thing. But she said for most people, if you come to them and you're like, it's going to cost this much, if it's under or around what they were thinking, then it's an easy yes for them.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know, sometimes the team, like, will work out a quote. They're so funny. God, I love them. And they'll be like, oh, my God, this has come out to quite a lot. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's a lot of work. Like, I mean, they could do it themselves if they want, but if they want to pay us, we're not half-assing it. We're going to do it well, and it's going to take time. So they'll tentatively send the quote off. And then the amount of times things will come back in like half an hour. Cool, when can we get this started?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we literally just had this conversation the other day, and one of them is just like, I can't believe she just approved like a $2,500 quote in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know why you're still surprised. We have this conversation all the time.
It's where the value is, right? Yeah. So, I love the way that you've expressed that because we're numbers nerds, so you got to remember that, right?
I'm not trying to credit what you guys do is so important.
I know, but here's the nerd part, okay? So the customer relationship management software that we use, which is Salesforce.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking at surveys because I was interested. I know nothing about marketing, Jade. Let's just be very clear about this. Nothing. That's why we've got Kerry, who is our wonderful woman, does all this internally, and obviously we pay to have experts in this space as well too. But the software that we use, it's a platform that provides businesses with the ability to do business, really. It was an interesting statistic, and it said 43% of their revenue is what they spent last year on marketing. And I was like, wow, that's a huge number, right?
Because when you think about like so many businesses, like wages tend to be such a massive.
That's right. They usually make up a big chunk of that. But we
I wonder if that was a one-off, if they're really doing that all the time.
No. So so again, nerd in me having a read through all of this went, wow, how does this actually then relate to? And there's no direct correlation. Going to premise this straight up, but how does this relate to revenue growth? And these are some of the, and it's not that it wasn't just them. There was Atlassian, a couple of these major corporations in that space, and the fintechs as well, making big spends on their marketing budget, but also had massive amounts of revenue growth. And they might just be in the right sector, and they've got all these other things that are going on for them as well too. But it's kind of where the energy flows. That's going to get you that revenue growth, right?
Something for nothing in a lot of things in life, and it's sort of, and while we can all be scrappy and do what we can do, etc. There's nothing wrong with having a go at things yourself, but it is also when I know for me personally, like I'm just about to sign up to a PT.
Yeah.
So I have not prioritized my health for 40 years. It took a lot of time and money to get this physique, but I'm going to have a crack at actually giving a shit about my health. And so my first thing was like, well, obviously if I haven't all this time been able to do that, I'm going to engage somebody, and it's like, it's an expense and all that sort of stuff, and it's my time. It's like I pay for them, but I still have to do the work.
That's right.
That sucks, but whatever. Actually, it's Danny. And sorry, that's just side note. That's
connections.
Thing. And so I'm going to invest that time and money to get him to help me to really just do it. You know what I mean? And that's sort of like, I don't think everyone necessarily needs to pay external people and stuff for marketing. I'm really not about that. But at the same time, I do know that when you actually properly invest in something, whatever it might be in your life, then you're going to pay it more attention.
That's right.
And that's like, I just wrote an article for something the other day, and that's one of the, my top 3 things for the year for marketing or whatever. And my main thing is always your marketing needs you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just opt out. You can't just go, oh, here's my agency, or here's my in-house person, or our receptionist does our socials and stuff. Like, it's no problem having people helping you. But if you're not there, if you're not a part of it, if you're not contributing, you know, and especially at the start, it takes more. You can do less and less over time when you've got a good like you with Kerry. You know what I mean? Like, over time, she would hardly need anything from you because she would know it back to front. Like, but it takes time to get there.
100%.
But once you've got it, it makes it so much easier. And yes, I think people just kind of want to offload it at the start. But it's sort of like, no, it's not just money. It's definitely time as well. And that's when you get really good marketing. Like, you can tell the difference when there's actually people in the business helping to drive the marketing. It's always better quality. If the marketing person also knows what they're doing.
So, Jade, have you got any tips on how people can, you know, still be involved in the marketing but make it a little bit less time consuming, do it in a more efficient way? Because I think, you know, we're in a world where we want to get more content out, but it just feels like you're just constantly putting your head in that space when you know you've got another job to do. So how do you make it efficient?
Yeah, cool. So first thing is definitely having a strategy. So like I said, doing that whole exercise of business goals, marketing goals, target markets, key messages, and what activities you're going to do, because then whatever time you do allocate to marketing is being well spent. Wasting your time doing stupid shit that someone was like, oh, you should have an Instagram. You're like, cool, I'll just do that. You know, like, that's just dumb anyway. So definitely having a strategy saves time straight off the bat. And then allocating regular time. So like I was just saying to you guys before we started recording, for time allocation, I set recurring appointments for myself. That's how I get things done. I don't have to stress about when am I going to do my accounts, when am I going to work on my business plan, when am I going to do client work, when can I fit someone in for a meeting or whatever. I have recurring appointments so that everything's just in my calendar, and then when it pops up, you know, obviously there's some flexibility and stuff, but it's like, then I can do it. So it could be that you go, all right, for the first Friday of every month, that's my marketing day. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do my content calendar.
No exceptions. We tried this today, didn't we? No exceptions.
And that's the thing. That's where having your boundaries in place is so important.
Yeah.
So, like, at the moment, I'm pretty much the only one doing client meeting, like our new clients, etc. And so I've had to sacrifice some of our rebel time to be doing meetings, etc., to keep things moving for clients or whatever. But then we're about to hire again. We'll be back to full team, and so I will then go back to, you know, working on the business, not always in the business. And that's as much, like, I think boundaries as much as being strict with others as it's being strict with yourself. But it's like anything, you know, like, you don't miss having breakfast and brushing your teeth in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain things that you just take for a given that you're going to do. If you think that marketing is important, then just make it part of your schedule. And that's the easiest thing, I think, to find. That, and my third one would be repurposing. So people create so much stuff and then they just leave it as a once-off. And it's like, no. Like, just sap everything you can out of it, man. So, like, this podcast, for example, so you've got it as a audio recording. You can pull out the transcript to create a blog. You can take out any one-liners and turn them into quote graphics. You know, say it was International Marketing Week. You can repost the blog as a reminder to people. Like, there's just so many ways from one piece of content you can pull out 50 million things and then reuse those things wherever appropriate as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we think that once we put something out that we have to just keep churning out new stuff, and that's where I think people get burnt out with it.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case, man. And like, we think about it too, like, you know, from your own social media and stuff, you don't see every single post from every single brand you follow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just because you put out your podcast, you know, that Friday, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with reposting it again 3 months later or 3 weeks later, because not everyone would have seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of, and if you just put it with a different angle or a different picture, a different thumbnail, a different title, and, you know, there's all kinds of shit you can do. Just keep getting as much as you can. So when you create, you're really getting as much bang for your buck out of that piece of content rather than just new. Because that's, I think, where people just kind of get tired.
That's
That's a great tip.
Anyway.
That's
a really
such
great
smart advice. I'm sitting over here feeling just so dumb, going,
Stop. No more
wow,
content.
I don't have to just keep creating things. I can just reuse some things. It's not like a throwaway society here.
We're very much into repurposing, recycling and marketing. But it's not just makes sense from a time efficiency perspective. It makes sense from an actual marketing strategy perspective, because it's like, you know, if you were hosting an event, you wouldn't just put one post on Facebook with here's my event and here's everything in it and then be like, hope everyone turns up. Exactly. You would be like, okay, we're going to have this guest speaker. We're going to do a little video interview with them, and then we're going to do their bio, and then we're going to do a quote graphic about them. And that's just 3 pieces of content about the guest speaker for the event.
So it's not that hard to get to the 12 touch points that you were talking about, really, then, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just reusing and then thinking of different platforms and stuff too. So like, for example, LinkedIn is still an amazing space to be playing at the moment because there are so many people on it. LinkedIn is amazing at getting people to come to their platform. They've got all those little encouraging emails that give us dopamine hits of like, you know, 103 people looked at your profile this week. Do you want to go have a look and see who they are? Or, you know, Teneale's just celebrating 10 years at Almonds. Do you want to come say hello? P.S. If you don't, what a bitch you are. You know what I mean? Like, they're really good at getting people there. They've got amazing SEO, so you can tell their traffic's just fantastic. There's so many people there coming there, you know, maybe once a week, once a fortnight or whatever. It's not like the other social media platforms. That's what's so great about it, though, is that you don't have to post on there very much for people to see it, because they're only going on there once a week or once a fortnight. So if you're posting once a week or once a fortnight, bang, you're visible. Secondly, people are going there. They're not posting. So few, the percentage of people who are active on LinkedIn that post is crazy small.
Yeah.
So if you do, and it doesn't mean you can do shit, like you still have to do good quality content, but if you had a post on your Facebook page that went really well, so it's proven content, was popular, repackage that with, okay, that was a corporate post, what's my perspective on it? Put a couple of lines of what you think, reuse the graphic, post it on your LinkedIn. It's not hard. I mean, I don't do it, but it's not hard.
So, Jade, nowadays people can just pick up the phone, do a short video whilst they're on the go, on the move, and post it, and it's out there. And it got me thinking a little bit around authenticity and marketing. Do you think that's becoming even more important, that what you're putting out there is so authentic for you, your business, in this new world?
100%. We're seeing such... I mean, obviously we've got a decline in, like, say, for example, free-to-air TV viewership and all that sort of stuff anyway. But there's such a pull away from anything that's overly polished, overly done. So even your big media channels, so like news.com.au, it's not that their videos are trash. Like, they're not doing terrible work. But how often is the footage grainy or a bit quick? You know what I mean? Like, their stuff is not, it doesn't look like a TV ad. It doesn't look like a TV spot. It just looks real and raw and quick and in the moment. And that's what people are really responding to more and more. We don't want this super polished, not that professionalism is bad, but
it's
that
posed.
whole thing. Yeah, when someone, it just looks completely staged. Yeah. People aren't responding to that as much. You know what I mean? Whereas if, you know, you're doing a Facebook Live and your hair's a bit windswept or whatever, and you know, chatting about your, like, thoughts on a particular topic, that's so much more engaging than a professional news piece, which we all know is bullshit half the time anyway, sort of thing, you know? So, and it's great because it just gives people such a low barrier of entry for being able to create their own content. You know, it's not just marketing people who can create cool content. Anyone can create good content. If you have an idea, just have a crack and see how it goes, because it's probably going to do better than you think. And like you said, that authenticity thing, you know, I know it's such a buzzword now because we've been banging on about it for years, but who doesn't prefer that compared to someone who is so perfect and unreachable and I keep coughing and just, you know, they doesn't seem like a real person. You know what I mean? Like, same thing with I cough in my podcast and I screw up words and I swear a lot and I'm trying so hard not to.
You're doing really well.
I've slipped a little bit and I'm very sorry. But you know what I mean? Like, I find, like, even when I get up and do speaking engagements, one of my first things out of my mouth is always like, I'm such a dork. You're going to have to bear with me. This is just how I am. People enjoy it though. You know what I mean?
They
like,
can relate a
I
lot
don't have
easier.
to pretend, and they like it. Everybody wins.
Yeah. So another big question for you. How do you get something trending? Is there a trick to this?
There's a trend button. You just hit the button, right?
On TikTok, they do have that behind the scenes. So if you want something to trend, it's really about something that's going to appeal to the widest audience possible, and there's a really good chance that that's not your audience. So if that's all you care about is numbers and stuff like that, like we had, so our third reel that we put on Instagram way back whenever that was when we first started doing reels had over 1 million views. So there is 125,000 people in the Mackay region where we live, over 1 million views. Like, yay, it went viral. It was
it's a bit of a misconception, isn't it? 'Cause I think
it was bullshit. It was all like people in it, because it was a job reel for marketing. So it went crazy.
But did you get like 500,000 people fly in for that interview?
Funnily enough, no. But, all those eyeballs and stuff like that were not the people we were interested in. So it didn't actually matter.
Yeah. So as long as it's targeted. And that comes back to the strategy, Jade, I assume that, that's not actually important.
No, it's not. And I think that, I guess, you guys will probably feel this as well, sort of thing. There's certain things in marketing that are more about your ego than actually about things of substance. So, for example, there is a particular marketing agency that my team find quite funny, because they're not here, and they boast a lot about how much revenue they're making. And even they know that it's bullshit, because revenue doesn't mean crap, because it's like, well, if your expenses are outweighing your revenue, you're not actually successful. So it's the same sort of thing. You can say, oh my God, there was a local media outlet here that bought likes years and years and years ago. And so they had 10,000 likes on their Facebook page, and everyone else was at 2,000 at the stage. So we're like, we know your boredom. And no one was reacting to their content. It was just crickets. So they had all those numbers.
It's not translating to anything meaningful for the business.
It was just useless. It was such a waste of money and time, sitting back thinking, oh, cool, I've got all these people looking at me. They don't care about you. Whereas, if you've only got an audience of 500 people and you get, 20 to 30 engagements on every post nearly that you're doing, you are hitting it out of the ballpark compared to the 10,000 of completely deaf ears. You know what I mean? It's it's not really about numbers in that sense. That's definitely a quality over quantity one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And a lot of those call to actions are going to call that out, right? So if you're a business that, does get a lot of traffic in terms of new clients through apps and online and everything like that, and there's a link there and you can see that it's actually getting you new business. That's important, right?
Yeah,
that's the important stat.
And that's the whole thing, with your Google Analytics, it's a free tool. It's super comprehensive. Tie it up to your website, and when you go in there, you can see, where is my traffic coming from, and then what journey is that traffic taking. So, okay, through March, I might have had 2,000 people from Facebook come to my page. How many of them actually went to the contact page? How many of them went to the homepage and then pissed off? You know what I mean? So is Facebook actually, even if I'm getting a lot of traffic there, is that really a place where I'm getting quality leads? No, so it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
You still want to have a presence there for the ones that do come through, etc. But it is about looking at the numbers.
I love it. You brought it right back around into my world.
Basically, I mean, that was not scripted.
So, Jade, what's one of the biggest challenges that you've faced in the marketing world? Have you come across anything that you can't quite handle yet?
I did delete TikTok after I had it for about 2 weeks. And I've got it again now, though, because I was like,
suck it in.
Your algorithm is too good. It was just like, took me. No, I think the biggest challenge with marketing has not changed, in the sense that there's always change.
Yeah.
So it's just pretty much that the nature of business is constantly changing. The marketing industry is constantly changing. And so if you're going to be doing any kind of marketing, whether you are a marketing professional or you're a business that needs to do marketing or whatever, just get super comfortable with being a newbie all the time. And that's why, I know I had teasing you earlier, I'm sorry for that. But like guru, expert, master, all that sort of stuff, I'm like, it's complete bullshit when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot be an expert on these things.
That's like anything, right? If you're very good at it, it's because you're a constant learner.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, the team were talking about something with Reels and TikTok the other day, and they're like, oh, you know, this app does this and this. And I'm like, wait, what app? Like, I hadn't, you know what I mean? Like, I have no idea, and they've been using it for however long.
Yeah.
Because there's no way I can possibly know everything, but that's what I love. Like, I love learning and experiencing and figuring things out and stuff. That's why this industry suits me really well.
Yeah.
But for a lot of other people, I get that marketing must just feel like a constant wheel that you never get out of, and it's confusing for people because there is so much change sort of thing. But, yeah, definitely the biggest challenge with marketing is trying to stay up to date with stuff, because you'll never stay up to date with stuff. And being comfortable with that is not something that everyone can do.
Yeah.
I'm just very lucky. I'm okay to be a complete novice and keep going with that. That way people have lower expectations of you.
Oh, well, I think just from the conversations today, we've taken so much out of that, and I have no doubt that our listeners have.
I'm
as
actually
well.
really excited now to go away and use some of your wisdom. So
Yeah.
thank you from my side of the table.
No, you are more than welcome. That's, again, one of the reasons why I love doing training and stuff as well, and even just meetings and stuff with people. I just genuinely love business and marketing so much that comment of, like, not only did I get something out of it, but I'm actually wanting to do it.
Yes.
You know, like, I never wanted, now I kind of want to do it. That is just like music to my ears, man. It just makes me so happy. So
Yeah,
yay.
and it shows. So, but that is all we do have time for today. So don't forget, Jade does have her own podcast, so 𝐼𝐞𝐚 and Margaritas.
Cheers.
Over 100 episodes now. And if you think that she could help you or your business, then reach out to Rebel Nation. And thank you very much for listening. If you've enjoyed the content today, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts and tell us what you want to hear more of. See you next time.
The opinions of the presenters are objectively ascertainable and are not intended to be financial product or personal advice.